Hi YouTube, thanks for joining in, and a warm welcome as usual to all my loyal subscribers. So this is a little initiative in collusion with Atheism TV and my channel obviously. We have great hopes to start our own kind of media thing, even outside of YouTube one day if we can. And to give it a little push, we have a special guest this evening to start us off, Mr. AronRa. So before we go to the call, I just want to give a little shout out to my, I suppose, most loyal supporters, users, Darwin's Gift, thank you mate, and to Gokster. Thank you very much indeed. So let's get on with the conversation. Good evening, Aron.
How do you do?
Good man, or should I say good afternoon actually?
But not quite yet, we're 4 minutes away.
We're 4 minutes away, I know you called early, you ambushed me. Very good. Listen Aron, thank you very much for taking the time for the call, man. That's really cool. And as I said in the email, because I'm quite sure you're fed up doing interviews at this point and everyone knows everything about you, your background and stuff. Just in breve, I don't want to do a monologue, but yeah, we're doing a little promo, as I said, about Atheism TV and stuff like that. It's kind of along the lines of, well, the great inspiration of, you know, the atheist experience and stuff like that. And of course, even Young Turks, who are socio-political, but they happen to be secularists. But this is an ambition that we have of collaboration. And before I go to my first questions to you, I mean, you are an inspiration in this way because you've shown that atheists can actually collaborate and work together, and that's really appreciated. No, really, with your interviews and your appearance with Matt and the guys on Atheist Experience, etc. Right. So yeah, because you know, I don't know what your feeling about it is. You know, like internet is still the kind of poor cousin of mainstream media, isn't it?
You know, my personal opinion, mainstream media can't compete with the internet. It really can't, on several levels. I mean, look at news, for example. You know, what you get in news, but certainly, even in America, people are starting to realize that what we get in the news is not reliable like maybe it once was, if it ever was.
Yeah. What
we get on the internet, maybe that's reliable. But if you get a whole bunch of people videotaping the same thing, like the protests in Iran or Washington, D.C., you know, like the Occupy movement, you get enough people videoing the same thing, you're going to see the same thing in real life. Like the thing we did in Dublin, we had 6 cameras on the same event. Mm-hmm. That obviously wasn't fake.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we can rely on more than we can mainstream news media. I went into a cable TV station not long ago just to trade in some equipment, you know, cable modem. And they had a TV show on. I haven't watched regular television in years. And what I'm seeing on their presentation screen didn't look appreciably different than somebody's private you know, videos that they make on YouTube. I couldn't understand what the attraction is. I don't think that mainstream TV can compete with us anymore on, as I say, on a number of levels. Maybe in the money, in the production of their shows, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I did an interview recently, Aron, with a member of the European Parliament, and he was a real old-timer, and I think he's 70 now, and he's a bit out of his depth, and I posed a question very simply to him in light of the Arab Spring, for example, and the examples you mentioned there. I said to him, for example, you know, democracy from its earliest days in Greece was direct democracy. Some guys, you literally put a stone among 12 guys into a barrel, and how many, you know, so from direct democracy to representative democracy, which we have today. I call internet, or the possibilities of it, absolute democracy, because you can get your opinion out there. You know, he argued the point, fine, you can get the opinions out, but you still need representatives, like, you know, the man or woman on the ground to actually speak for you. So this is kind of, and I learned something from that, because what I was thinking is that, yeah, we're all separate voices on the net and do a lot of good work, I hope. But in the end of the day, just like you've got trade unions, and you know, just like you've got to have someone willing to bite the bullet and be the face, or a collectivization. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That sort of thing. As an activist, the definition for me is, again, you know I'm a Carl Sagan fan, was that, no, it's like a teacher has to teach. You know, you impart reason in education. You've got to write. However gently or satirically or aggressively you do it, you've got to go out there. And that's what I do. I'm not happy to say, like, you know, you just mind your business and then you carry on. I'm sorry, I can't let you carry on, because, you know, it's just, it's wrong. And I'm not sure if people are addressing all the hordes of indifferent people that don't realize how religion invades their life. So what do you think? Am I splitting hairs when I make that kind of differentiation between sort of passive humanism and active atheism?
What you're doing is you're quoting a classic movie from the 1970s called Network. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I sampled a piece of it in my last video when promoting the Reason Rally.
Yeah.
You have a newscaster who's talking about how people just want to be complacent, just leave me alone in our living rooms, let me have my steel belted radials, and I won't say anything, I won't bother anybody.
Yeah.
You know, just let me have my little confined space and be at peace. And the newscaster won't allow that. He says, well, I'm not going to let you. I'm going to make you mad. You've got to get mad at the situation because things are wrong, and you've got to do something about it. In that one respect, that was a great movie. For that. And when you talk about how you're an activist and I'm an activist and a teacher must teach, my wife is also this teacher. And that's a lot of what she does. We've been to the steps of the state capitol on a number of protests just because her job is as an educator and our governor is determined to destroy the body of education. He's determined to destroy public education as a process.
Yeah.
And the reasoning is obvious. They want subservient minions. They do not want an educated populace. I do. I would say that if we have idiots in the office, we should make it obvious that we have more intelligent people on the ground who are going to be voting them out.
Sure. Absolutely. And thank you very much. You've led me on to my next point. It's like you read the script already. Aron, you talk a lot about Texas, and right you should. The Lone Star State. Listen, can I ask you this? It's a horrible question, but it's just like, you know something for me? It's like Texas is a state of mind rather than just a state, you know? And I go, from the history, I go right back, even before the Civil War. I'm a great student of Texas. And I know in terms of mega churches, education policy, politicians that have come up, present Republicans, George W., we all know that sort of thing. Can I ask you this? I'm an Irishman. And we've been called everything in the world except too early in the morning, you know, so we're kind of immune. John Cleese said in the movie A Fish Called Wanda, he said, have you any idea what it's like to be English? You know, and I'm not disparaging my English viewers. Can I ask you, as a Texan, you talk about it a lot in a context, and so does Matt Dillahunty and all the guys on the show. I mean, are you proud to be a Texan? Does it make you cringe sometimes? Are you aware of what people in New York say about you? Stuff like that?
Well,
I'm sorry, I mean that respectfully.
I can say at least this much. As a Texan, I think I could speak for virtually all the Texans I've ever met when I say that we don't care what New Yorkers have to say about us. Regardless of which side of the politics you're on, that seems to be a consistent sentiment. However, having lived in a number of other states, I mean, I've had a residence in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and I forget where, oh yeah, Iowa, but I try to blot that out. In all these other places, you have incredible vistas. You have real mountains, real lakes, real interesting topology going on, where in Texas you really don't. And they say things are bigger in Texas. Well, no, I've seen deer that are the size of small dogs, and in Arizona I've seen elk, and in Alaska I've seen caribou. There's just no comparison. I mean, Texas is a state of nationalism, and one of the problems that we have in this state is that people talk about the good old days, and they want to go back back to the 50s, to what my wife says is a mystical time of Andy Griffith that never actually existed. And one of the things that I try to promote in other people in here is I want them to understand how lucky they are, not just that they live in the United States, but that they live in the United States of the 20th or the 21st century as opposed to, say, the 19th, where children were working in factories and you had one pair of pants that you had to wear all week. and wash them by hand while you're naked, and then continue wearing them. Where your dinner was a turnip, where you worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and so on. People don't understand that as bad as their horrible predictions of the future may be, I've yet to hear one that is as bad as things have already been in this country a couple centuries ago. And yet they want to talk about the good old days, when women couldn't vote, when darkies had to use a different restroom or water fountain and things of that sort, when gays had to be in the closet or else they would get beat up. I can't imagine that being the good old days.
Yeah.
But that's the way they're being promoted.
But that legacy, I understand what you're saying perfectly, Aaron, because in my country, Ireland, we've had hundreds of years of divisions, sectarian, religious, and and we still quote stuff hundreds of years old, never mind the 19th century. We go back to Oliver Cromwell, like in the 1600s, and a massacre that happened, and we like trying to sort out who we are. I mean, yeah, Texas, the Lone Star State, we all know how its formation. I mean, even by the time of the Civil War, what was the name of the governor? That he went against the tide and he wanted to stay in the Union, and he lost the vote on that, and Texas joined in. I know, I mean, people, young kids today, because I love history, and they say to me, you know, Scott, you're crazy, you're mad as a bicycle. Why are you talking about these things? Because I assure you, like you just said, I mean, it's ingrained and it takes a long time. And leading on to that, if I can, I'm going to put you on the spot one more time, please, Aaron. Like, because of that maybe good old boy thing in the past, look, I hate to hit you with this, but I have to. I'm a member of Amnesty International, and in our statistics, we're up there in the First Division League. We've got China and Saudi Arabia and Texas. And before I ask your personal opinion, just to give you some statistics, or for viewers perhaps that don't know, we all know the federal sort of revisions go back to the 70s in the States, but like, for example, let's just start with 1976. Since then, give you just some other examples. It's not A to Z, it's in terms of numbers. For example, Colorado, Connecticut, New Mexico, South Dakota and Wyoming since 1976 have had one execution each state. Since 76, Texas has had 477. Last year, 13 executions alone. Previous year, 17, and from 2009, 24. So I guess it's progress. Do you understand, Aaron, that besides even the religious thing, one of the things that screams, because I mentioned in a previous video, and I'm quite sure you know this, that of all 20 member states of the European Union, well, we're not in the best of hands these days, but you can't even enter the European Union unless you amend anything you have on statutes about execution. It's like an abomination. How do you feel about that? It must come up a lot. What's your own personal feeling on the death penalty?